Welcome back to the channel and back to ASMR drama. Today we have yet another update on Ephemeral Rift. About a week ago he made an apology video that I never ended up covering because personally I thought the apology was decent for what it was. It wasn't necessarily necessary for me to talk about and break down. It's an apology. Everyone can take away with it what they wanted. Essentially the apology was him saying sorry for saying the N-word. People are sensitive. I'm not racist. These are his words.
So I would like to apologize to anyone that found what I said to be offensive, to those of you who may be sensitive to those things, and especially you watching this right now. If you are someone who's very sensitive, or perhaps maybe not so sensitive, but still found things to be offensive, and maybe you found maybe your feelings were hurt, maybe you felt betrayed, or something along those lines. So I would like to personally apologize to you, okay? And before we go any further,
but he didn't necessarily apologize. It's weird. You know how apologies are. That's more of I'm sorry you were offended, not I'm sorry that I was insensitive. And he didn't mention the stuff where he mentioned the HOLOCAUST. I can't really say the word because YouTube doesn't like that word at all. He didn't mention anything about the conflict going on in Israel, Palestine, any of that. So overall it was just kind of a really wacky apology, and I didn't think it was necessary to even make a video on and promote it, but it's on his page and it'll be in the description if you want to watch it. But today we're going to be talking about a community post that he had decided to share on YouTube. And now the irony of this was that his original controversy was simply based on something that he said on Twitter, and his whole point was, oh, it was on Twitter, I should be able to have separate entities. I should be able to have YouTube over here, Twitter over here, and they don't connect ever. And he breaks his own rules here, and he's decided to bring his crazy thoughts to YouTube. So as always, I want to thank all of you guys who are fans and friends of the channel who bring these ideas to me, because without your help, I honestly wouldn't be able to pump out decent content so often. So huge thanks to my friends who helped make this possible. And if you aren't already, please subscribe, join the little ASMR army, commentary, controversies, drama. We talk about it all. Subscribe, and let's dive into Ephemeral Rift's new community post. Alright, my friends, so here we are on Ephemeral Rift's YouTube channel. This is his real channel. This is on YouTube. It's not some type of edit, Photoshop, blah. We are on his real page. And we'll slide on over here to the community tab. If you guys don't know what the community tab, it is where people can post comments, polls, updates, all kinds of cool things people can share with the community. I think this is a feature that YouTube partners are only able to access. So if you check my community tab, you'll see me oftentimes say, hey guys, I'm working on this video, I'm working on this video. Don't look at it, because sometimes I'll say I'm working on a video and it never ends up coming out, because sometimes I just get a little too caught up with life and other things. Anyways, back to Ephemeral Rift. Paul, we are on his community tab, and he has this interesting post right here where he says, introducing Eric, the Ephemeral Rift Industrial Complex, to be complete by the year 4872 after I have achieved immortality. Let's open it up real quick. So it is a photo that says ERIC, the Ephemeral Rift Industrial Complex, situated on 50 billion acres of pristine concrete, sanctuary for no-eat pigs, cows, chickens, turkeys, etc. 1 billion square foot arcade and video game center, private jet, helicopter, tank, and UFO. Interesting positioning here. Eric Road, authorized access only, human farm to feed no-eat animals, livestock to feed the humans, 2 billion square foot mansion, garage of 58,912 antique cars, gladiatorial, I don't know how to say that. I never heard that word before. Arena, humans fight to the death. We know what that means. Um, Interesting photo. We can tell Ephemeral's doing a little bit of trolling, but in this context, it doesn't really work well because we've seen Paul's interesting website, we've seen Paul's interesting posts on Twitter, and how he feels about, things like the war, how he feels about things like animals and livestock and trading and all that kind of stuff. In the past video, something I brought up, something that A Jojo brought up, he made light of the Holocaust, the thing that happened in Germany in the 40s. He said that was light work. That horrific thing that happened was light work compared to what happens with animals in the livestock feed industry. And so here we are on Paul's website. It's essentially just the community note, just larger, and you can actually click on the image. He says, yeah, here's a rough draft of the complex I plan to build by the year 4872 after I have achieved immortality. It'll be the ultimate human achievement the world will ever know. Stay tuned for more updates. More trolling by Paul. Bro's going through it. And yeah, I didn't even plan on mentioning this, but while I was going through his website, I found an interesting article that he wrote a few days ago that I thought we would dive into. Hopefully, since these are all like someone else's words, YouTube, please go a little light on me. This is all in context to what we're talking about. It's commentary. I don't agree with anything he's saying. I don't think that anything he's saying really makes much sense. But to add context to this situation and try to understand what's happening, I am going to basically go through this article with you guys, because a lot of people try to say, you just don't like opinions that these ASMR creators have. You don't like opinions that these YouTube people have, and you like to just make them look bad. So I'm going to let his own article do the talking, okay? So this is an article called The Value of Life, Human Lives Lost in All Wars Since 550 BC, Pale in Comparison to the Ongoing Livestock Holocaust. So in his past tweets, he said that the livestock, crisis is essentially worse than the Jewish Holocaust. So now it seems like he's switched it to just say he's calling the livestock thing a Holocaust. So very interesting, because I don't think that animals are necessarily being targeted because of their race, religion, anything like that. But what do I know? Paul's more wise. He's much more wise and older than me, so maybe he knows a little bit more. So ethics, morals, values, critical thinking, namely objectively in perspective. Keep these in mind, my dear reader. Employ them even as you continue. Let me zoom in, because this is kind of like super small text. Hopefully this is better. In my previous article, the Holocaust happened, but it's no big deal compared to the daily livestock Holocaust. I wrote how the deaths of approximately 6 million humans, Jews, during World War II pales in comparison to the 70 to 90 billion livestock animals killed each year in today's society, or the livestock Holocaust, as I like to call it. Those are facts. The Holocaust happened. The number of livestock killed daily, annually on a global scale is the Holocaust, and the unfathomable number of animals killed since the invention of livestock and factory farming, or even during the course of 1 year, makes the Jewish Holocaust or any other war look amateur in comparison. I don't think so. I understand the comparison if we are talking numbers. But if we are talking about lives, if we are talking about feelings, if we are talking about global impact, world impact, people aren't starting wars over livestock, or at least not anytime now. It's been maybe close, no, not even 100 years yet since the Jewish Holocaust happened. Wars were fought. Literal countries were invaded. Things like that over things like the Holocaust. Things like what's going on right now in Israel, Palestine. These aren't things to even make comparisons to. It's just disgusting. Even the World War II death toll, approximately 80 million people killed, doesn't even equal to 1 day's worth of livestock deaths. Again, these were soldiers who were sent to wars that they oftentimes didn't want to fight, and you're comparing them to animals who are just, being used for food. I mean, it's fair to say that animals do have lives, they have families of their own, they probably have thoughts and ideas, but they don't they don't have jobs. They aren't. This is an interesting thing that I would probably have to do more research on. And maybe if you ever want to debate this or discuss this, because maybe I'm ignorant and I'm very open minded and I am very forthcoming with the fact of my ignorance. But for anyone who's reading this, you probably understand what I'm trying to hint at, that you can't compare animals to humans. You just can't do that. There's a reason why human beings have created civilizations and have created the world that we live in now. And the reason I have internet, there's not a chicken, there's not monkeys and cows and all kinds of pigs running around with societies and government, populations, and things like this. They haven't had hierarchies of humans. They don't have education. They don't write books. They don't have any of this. An animal is born, it moseys about for a few years, it dies. That's kind of just what happens with animals. Even puppies, even pets, they are born, their life is literally with you. If you have a pet dog, that dog's only life is going to be with you, being their owner. And when they die, they die. Life goes on. You cannot compare human beings to animals. And you can't compare a holocaust of human beings with races, wars, all this interesting things, all these life-changing, world-changing things to animals being slaughtered. It's unfortunate that it happens. I wish there were ways that things could be different, but I've got to eat meat. Many other people have got to eat meat. The world revolves around people eating meat. Um, let's read a little more. With this article, I expand my scope beyond the Jewish Holocaust to include all wars as far back as we have record. I gathered the data that is publicly available at Wikipedia. The first thing I did was extract all the numbers and their associated wars from the various tables and put them into a spreadsheet. Then I added up, summed up the numbers. The table is at the bottom of this article. Voila, the total number of human lives lost in all wars since 550 BC equals approximately 588,476,677. A lot of numbers. That equates to around 230,775 human lives lost to war every year over the span of 2,570 years. Lots of interesting math, Paul, to defend bad ideas. I think it's fair to say do math. Math is interesting. And if you were to be like a devil's advocate to argue with someone over this idea, I think this is very interesting, an interesting topic to explore, but it's not good. It's not fair. It's not comparable. It's not equal. You would never see a pig, a cow, a chicken get on YouTube right now and read an article you wrote and discuss anything with you, have a debate with you. Would they cry if you killed them or their other family? Of course they would. Would they be sad if you took them from their family? Of course they would. But would they be able to, write a book like Anne Frank? Would they be able to go through things like slavery, racism, the Holocaust, any of this? No, they probably wouldn't. They wouldn't at all. Once again, I reiterate, human lives lost in all wars or a drop in a bucket, no big deal, pale in comparison to the amount of animal lives lost since the invention of livestock and factory farming across the globe. I don't like that you keep elaborating on this point right here. Human lives lost in all wars is a drop in a bucket. They're not comparable. They're not. Human lives are a lot more valuable than livestock. It's the reality. There's no point of arguing it. If a chicken was standing somewhere and Paul was standing somewhere, I'm going to save you, Paul, because you're a human being. You've lived 50 years of life with stories and families and all these interesting tales and interesting things you've done in your life and contributed to society. The animals contribute to society as well. food. It happens. In certain climates and certain parts of the world where people eat things like dogs and monkeys and chickens and interesting animals, those animals also contribute to that country's livestock trade. It's the reality. We love animals, so when we see dogs being eaten and being cooked for food in other countries, we don't like it, but the reality is that those are also livestocks. Those animals are basically food for those people. It brings them money. That's how everything works. If we were to get to a point where human beings were being sold for food and human beings were being stored in cages for food, if the Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust, was simply because, Adolf Hitler wanted to eat human beings and he was running some type of like cannibal concentration camp, you would have a point here. But that wasn't happening. He was keeping people because he was spreading horrific ideologies about race, trying to start wars, trying to take over the world as a nationalist. And that's just how it was. He goes on to say, again, I reiterate, if we're going to act like we have morals and ethics towards life, especially how we treat each other, our pets, and certain protected species due to extinction, then the same morals and ethics should apply to all other animals, especially livestock. It's that simple. No further argument needs to be made. I could rest my case right here. You can't really rest a case when you're wrong. I've kind of talked about this part right here about the pets. We all have pets. We like dogs. Some people have chickens as pets. Some people have pigs as pets. It really depends on what someone defines as a pet. People probably can have a cow as a pet, a horse as a pet. Anything can be a pet if you're willing to make it your pet. That doesn't mean that people can't eat it. That doesn't mean that people can't use it as food. It doesn't mean that we have laws and protection that treat humans differently than pets, than animals. Just because you say this right here, morals and ethic towards life, I don't think that it makes you an immoral person, an unethical person, to say that livestock is not as valuable as human life. There are not chickens and monkeys and cows having wars over sections of the planet, over ideas, over race, over religions. None of that is what animals are doing. A gorilla can probably go sit in a cave, and if another gorilla comes in, they'll beat each other up because he's like, you know what, I want this cave. That's all animals really think about. They don't think about, well, I really hope that, I think my religion is better than your religion, and I want to overtake your country, I want to overtake your continent. You don't have any of that. We don't have thousands of years of lore of animals fighting to control countries, fighting to spread their ideas, all this other interesting things that human beings have. Even though they're bad things, I think wars are horrible. Anybody probably think wars suck and shouldn't happen. Animals don't have wars. Animals don't do any of this, Paul. And there's a whole lot left. I'm sure if I keep reading, I'll find more. But I don't really want to keep reading. I don't like the way Paul handles these things. I think that Paul went a little far with his Twitter things by saying the N-word. I personally think it was silly. I think if a person of color or someone who was affected by that word tells you, hey, don't say it, you learn from that and say, look, I'm sorry. I'm not racist. I'll delete it. I won't say it again. You don't make a video, you don't make an article explaining why you think it's okay as a person who hasn't had any type of negative correlation with that word. It applies to slurs regarding sexuality, regarding people who might be gay, lesbians, all that stuff, race, religions. There are types of slurs that, let's say I'm a white guy, I could probably say, I could say that to another white person. It wouldn't really mean anything. I'm probably going to censor it because I don't know how YouTube will treat that word, but it's essentially like a Ritz, Ritz, Nabisco, the things you eat with cheese and things like that. That word. I can say that, and of course other people can say it. I'm not going to fight them over it, but the word has a different meaning than the word that you think is okay to say. Again, you can talk about how you can flip the A, you can flip the ER at the end. The word isn't yours to say. And the same thing can be said for so many other slurs. You were probably thinking of some. I'm not going to say them or even talk about it and dive in. Again, YouTube doesn't like these kinds of discussions. But Paul, I think you're an interesting human being. I don't think you're a bad human being either. There's a lot of people on this channel that I make content about that I think are very interesting people, and I would love to know more. Paul, if you happen to see this video, I'd love for you to reach out. If you see the video, maybe leave a comment and I can reach out to you. I would like to discuss everything that's going on with you. I love the ASMR you've provided for people for so many years. Reading my own comments, I have seen how much your words and actions have affected people. And I don't think that you should keep doing what you're doing. I think you should remove your ideas from the internet presence. I'm going to say this in a way that maybe people can understand why I am so opinionated on the things I am. When you create an AdSense account, once you start getting money from YouTube, you are an employee of YouTube. There's no other way to look at it. Once you get 1 penny in your account, 1 ad view on your account, you are a YouTube employee. Let's say you go to a job in real life. Let's say you work at Walmart. If you go to Walmart and you start ranting about the Holocaust, do you think you will be fired? Probably. Do you think YouTube would say, or Walmart would say, hey, go ahead and clock out for the day? What's going on? HR wants to talk to you. Yes. You think your coworkers are going to agree with you and say, well, it's just your opinion. I guess you can say crazy. No. You are on a public platform and you've been gifted. You've been given a gift. You always say you don't care about the money. You are blessed to be making thousands of dollars. People can see how much views you get. You have videos with millions of views. I have a video that hit 100K views and I got like $300 from it. You have views with millions, and they're still monetized. They're still bringing in views, still bringing in comments and likes. So you're making thousands of dollars. And the thing is, your content is relatively safe until you start going on these kind of tirades that are going to get you in trouble. And I don't want to see this happen to you, Paul. I think you're a good man. I think you have interesting ideas to share, but you should share them to people who are in your sphere. You know, get on a podcast with like Hassan or Destiny, or I'm sure that one of these like political commentator type people would love to speak to someone like you, because the ASMR community is a very small niche that people don't really look at when it comes to drama and interesting topics like this. And I personally would love to see you debate one of these people or talk about these topics with someone, but in a separate way. Keep it away from your ASMR channel. We've already learned that, you know, your Twitter presence was a little interesting because nobody really followed you on Twitter. Nobody really follows me on Twitter either. When people are YouTubers, you don't really go to their Twitter unless you're like huge fans and you want to see what they're talking about 24/7. And that kind of got you in some trouble. But you keep doubling down and you decided to share this meme which links to your website, and then you can find articles like the one I just read, which will cause people to think that you're a very interesting character and not for good reasons. Either way, guys, I'll keep you guys updated on the ASMR world, ASMR drama, Ephemeral Rift, and until next time when we dive into the rift hole, what was that? Anyways, peace out, my friends. I appreciate you sticking by. Hopefully this video wasn't too long and rambly. Go check out the articles, read for yourself. Let me know if I've made any mistakes or if there's any points that you disagree with me on. I'm all for reading. If you start trolling me, I'm just going to hide your comments. It's not worth arguing, and you're not going to make me look like an idiot when you don't know what you're talking about. Appreciate you. Peace out.